Hello and welcome to the Jackcast, your Swansea City podcast. I'm your host, Steve Carroll, and joining me this week, once again, just like last week, is Rhys Hughes, who's taken time out of his busy schedule to spend some time talking about Swansea City. Afternoon, Rhys.
Afternoon, mate. How are you doing?
I'm not bad, thanks. I don't know if I'm quite as good as I was on Saturday, but you know, what can you say? But yeah, it was an enjoyable day, wasn't it?
An all-timer of an away day performance, probably. Probably our best one since the Michu QPR performance. I can't remember what year that was, but in the Prem. Yeah, it was an
Best
all-round
opening day,
performance,
you
wasn't
mean?
it? You are?
Well, best opening day, you mean?
Best opening day, yeah. Best
Yeah, I mean,
opening
I'd
day.
probably go Man United, which is a couple of years after it. And to be fair, the other one that stands out was Chelsea, where we should have won. And they had 10 men, if you remember. Montero
Yeah.
had the game of his life.
I didn't go there, but yeah, I do remember that one. Who was the Chelsea right back? He had him on toast.
Ivanovic, yeah, he got tortured, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But yeah, a cracking opening day, wasn't it? And it's probably the performance that we've threatened for a lot of the season under Matos, but never actually clicked. And that was probably the most all-round performance that we saw under Vito Matos since he's been Swansea City manager, both on and off the ball.
It was a definite improvement, wasn't it? Better than probably what either of us were expecting, and probably a lot of you listening really similar. But I mean, before we get into it, we were talked last week, didn't we, about we felt that there were probably 9 positions in the team that were fairly obvious who was going to play, and then the obviously Jay Fulton then was selected in midfield, and we did go with Stephen Welsh at centre back. I mean, both of those decisions really paid off handsomely, didn't they? I thought that Welsh looked good. He was good on the ball as well, which showed that maybe potentially that could be a better partnership. And Fulton had probably one of his best ever games, certainly best game for a long time, really. So they were two big calls that, and the manager, you'd have to say, got them right.
Absolutely. I said last week tonight that I would have played Lisa at centre half and played Josh Key. I thought Welsh had an excellent game against Stoke. He headed everything that came his way, and he looked really assured on the ball. He looked like a Swansea City centre half, and so yeah, he absolutely got that one right. And then Fulton starting. I didn't expect to see a Fulton Stamenic partnership again this year, and it clicked, didn't it? Fulton showing that he's probably become a little bit of an unsung hero in terms of the stability that he gives us. You know, he never looks under any kind of duress. He never looks under any pressure, and he turned up, and a wonderful performance by Jay Fulton, showing that he's more than capable of his place in that squad.
What I liked about him was, and he's not usually like this, he was more ambitious with his play. Like you look at for both the goals, we'll come on to and talk in a bit more detail later on. But it was playing those like forward passes, wasn't it? Which I think sometimes as a team, we're probably guilty of just picking easy options and just recycling the ball for the sake of it on occasion. I think quite a lot of players have probably been guilty of that. But you know, he played a big part there with trying to make things happen by playing the ball forward, which I thought was really good to see.
He did, but both of them, I thought Fulton and Stamenic both had excellent games, mind you know, and so I know Fulton was instrumental in both goals, and those penetrative through balls were a joy, you know, and it's something that, as you rightly say, we haven't seen much of from Jay, but I think it helped having Stamenic alongside him. He was a settling head, and it looked a real kind of partnership in the making for this season. I'm still not absolutely convinced we're going to see Fulton and Stamenic in the majority of games, but it was a really positive start and a positive foot into the start of the season.
Yeah, I think the good thing is that, because obviously we haven't signed anybody else yet, you'd expect those two to have to play again this weekend. But given that they did excel together on Saturday at Stoke, then it does give some hope that, we could see something similar this weekend coming. So that has to be a positive, really. I mean, we started the game reasonably well, I thought. But then typical of the Swans at Stoke, they'd been nowhere near our box, and we found ourselves 1-0 down. I mean, were you a bit like me thinking this is just typical of us, especially at this place where, very little has gone right for us, that we've done okay, and then they've offered nothing, and yet with their first attempt to get anywhere near our goal, it's gone into the back of the net.
Yeah, it's not just a Stoke thing. It's an us thing. I think we've had a soft underbelly for a couple of years. That probably goes back to the Russell Martin days, and yeah, it was so frustrating. It was against the run of play. I thought we started really promising. It was their first venture outside of their half, and we lacked composure. I think in our box, their bodies flying around, rather than standing and kind of holding your ground. And it was a frustrating one to go 1-0, 1-0 behind. And at that point, then it was a test for us, wasn't it? How are we going to react to going 1-0 down? I thought we reacted really well, albeit that they threw a couple of challenging balls into our box from free kicks and whatnot. Other than the Sorba Thomas chance right at the end, they didn't really threaten us. And so it was good to see that, we stood up to it. We stood up to the task, and we showed some composure at the back after what could have been a really bad start, a shaky start.
Yeah, I think, as you say, we did react well to it. They stuck a couple of balls into the box as well, but like you say, they didn't really offer us, too many threats, which was good. I mean, I think they're a poor side in all honesty, and which is not something I'm particularly surprised about, because they've been like that since they've been relegated out of the Premier League the same time as us. There's no real identity there. You don't really know what they're trying to do, but they do seem to usually beat us regardless. So yeah, it was nice that it didn't happen on this occasion. But as I say, we came back into the game then later on in the half. We've already touched on it. Jay Fulton plays a nice through ball. Yeo puts a good ball in. It ends up with a Poku who takes a shot, bit of a block / deflection, and it's ended up in the net. But it was a really good move, wasn't it? And I think we deserved that little bit of luck that we maybe had at the end of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And, it was nice to see us playing with wingers who were prepared to kind of challenge their full-backs. I think the Stoke full-backs felt like they were in a game for the majority of the game on Saturday. And if it wasn't our full-backs, Jay Fulton on that left-hand side was back and forth like a yo-yo, and typical, not Jay Fulton, sorry, Josh Tyman, and typical of Josh Tyman, threading through that lovely pass to get us the winning goal. But yeah, I thought our wingers were a real threat to Stoke, and it was nice to see. Well, I don't think it was a Yo assist in the end. I think they gave it to Vipotnik. So I'm guessing Vipotnik must have had something on the cross, but a real nice way to end on both of them having some kind of goal contributions.
Yeah, definitely. As you say, wide players have been a huge issue for this club, haven't they, over the last, year or so, particularly. And to see big contributions early on is encouraging. And I thought Opoku particularly did have a very good game. So there's plenty of.
He gives us something different, Opoku. I don't know what it is, but he gives us something different. He's dynamic. He puts pressure on the fullback. He's not afraid to run at them. At the same time, he's not afraid to give us a simple pass. I'm really excited by him as a signing. I think he could be a real force in the Championship this year.
Yeah, without a doubt, and really hope that is the case, because we've got to have our wide players contributing with goals and assists, and obviously he started off well there, so that is encouraging, to say the least, isn't it? But I mean, the positive things didn't end there, really, either, did they? I mean, it proved to be an inspired sub from Vitor Matos that won us the game. I mean, Vipotnik, who didn't have a brilliant game, I didn't think, but to be fair, he's not, he hasn't had a great pre-season in terms of being able to play because of an injury. So it was good that he started and got an hour or so under his belt. But I don't think he was ever going to be, firing on all cylinders, really. So it made sense that Ida would come on. And obviously, with his first touch, got us the winning goal. I mean, from my point of view, it was a really nicely worked move. I think Eon was involved, so was Fulton again with a similar type of ball. And when the ball did get to Timon on the left wing, I was thinking, we must have a good chance here, because that's the one player in the team that you want to be crossing the ball. And he picked out Ida superbly, and he did the rest, didn't he?
It was a very Swansea City goal in many ways, wasn't it? It was a very Swansea way to type goal. Some nice intricate passing in midfield, a threaded through ball to an overlapping fullback who puts it on a plate really for Ida. Yeah, and it was nice that Ida, for Ida to get on the score sheet. I agree with you about Vipotnik. He just looks he looks a yard off the pace at the moment. He doesn't look match fit, probably, as as you've already alluded to, because of his lack of pre-season. But yeah, it shows that we've got some quality coming on off the bench who are ready to step up if necessary. So yeah, I was thrilled for Ida, and that celebration for that second goal. There was some serious vibes there. That's a side that is together and in good spirits, ready for a successful season, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. It really is positive signs, and I think we've been sick, really, haven't we? Of slow starts of the season. Obviously it's usually because we're undercooked in terms of players. And I mean, you look at when Russell Martin came in a few days before the start, and the team from the year before, most of it had gone. Obviously, we had Abdullah playing on the wing at Middlesbrough a couple of years ago. Just those type of things. And as much as we were slightly short going into this game, it's not a coincidence that we've done far better, because we have been able to get a lot more business done early, really, isn't it? And it's paid off.
Yeah, it's a big help, isn't it? It's a big help, and they looked like a side that is starting to understand what's expected of them, and they've built that relationship on the training ground. It's going to be an interesting headache for Vitor Matos on Saturday in terms of his selection, because there are a lot of very promising performances. I also think I thought Yo played excellently when he came on. I do think he gave us that composure. He slowed the game down when necessary, and he looked penetrative going forward as well. So I actually thought he made a really positive impact when he came on. He settled us down a little bit when the game started to get a little bit frantic. And yeah, all of the subs that Matos made actually had a real positive impact on the game, I thought, on Saturday.
Yeah, and a manager can earn his coin, really, can't he, with his changes to impact the game. And yeah, he definitely made a positive impact on it on Saturday. So really encouraging. And to be fair, once that goal went in, we did look for another one. I remember Eom having a good header across the box that could have resulted in another goal, but it was reasonably comfortable, wasn't it? I mean, I'm not saying they didn't put us under a little bit of pressure, but I mean, Vigouroux didn't have a lot to do, did he? I mean, earlier in the half at 1-1, made a good save from Sorba Thomas, but Stoke didn't put us under a huge amount of pressure, did they?
No, with the exception of that Sorba chance, as you mentioned, if that goes in, obviously it's a very different game then, isn't it? But after we scored our second, they didn't really threaten. We looked very composed, and actually, we reverted to type of the Swansea City of a couple of years ago, where we put our foot on the ball and we looked to dominate possession a fair bit. So I was well impressed, and as I said at the very start of this, I think that was as close to an all-round performance as you get away from home, particularly first game of the season, where you'd expect kind of rustiness.
Yeah, I think for me, the only one slight concern I've got, and it's not a major thing, really, but it will be if it happens in every game, is that we didn't really create a huge amount of chances. I think we've done well to score 2 goals from not too many opportunities, really. I mean, if you look at the XG, which I know some people love and some people hate, it was 0.6, and it was quite similar to Stokes, really. So I think the clinical side of it is great, but I think generally we do need to do more with the ball, especially considering we did have a lot more possession than the opposition. So would you say that's a fair comment?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. It's one of those where I think patience is going to be key on that, isn't it? We got a lot of new players, particularly on that forward line. Yo, Just, Opoku, and if you want to throw in Ida there, because he didn't play a great deal last year, did he? We've got new players going forward that are going to take time to gel. Things like that aren't going to happen overnight. With that being said, there were really promising signs. And yeah, you're probably right in what you're saying. The amount of clear-cut chances that we made probably weren't. It probably wouldn't be enough to win consistently in the Championship. But there were real strong glimmers, I thought, and strong movements in the right direction compared to some of the frustrations that I know I and you both shared last year with us going forward.
Yeah, definitely. That's how I see it. Really, is that I saw decent things on the whole, but I think that is still an area that generally we're going to need to improve on, because if generally that's all your numbers are and that's all you're creating, you are going to find it harder to win too many games. So that's certainly an area I think that we could do with improving, but look, at the end of the day, there were a lot of positives Saturday, so I don't want to dwell on that side of it. I was more looking at it from the point of view of if we want to continue to progress, that is an area that we need to work on. But I mean, just before we move on, it was quite nice when to get one over on Ethan Galbraith as well. I mean, the song was particularly loud, and he did bite at one point as well, didn't he? Like gesturing
He
the
did,
crowd
yeah,
to
early on.
yeah, turn it up loud. I was
It got
quite
under.
surprised by that because he would have known some stick was coming, and players are pretty good at keeping their cool now, aren't they? Unless like if they get a goal, like Sam Clucas used to at Stoke, and then they might let rip, and you sort of have to take that if you've dished it out. But yeah, I mean, he did bite, and it was pretty loud, wasn't it?
I can only presume, he's a young lad that genuinely didn't expect such hostility towards him, and if he didn't expect it, then his naivety at its highest. That Galbraith song, I think I was humming it in my sleep that on Saturday night. It was sung so often. It was nice to dish it out, and it's nice to be on the winning side of someone who proved himself to be a bit of a mercenary in my eyes, and good riddance to him. And he's in a Stoke side that I can't see threatening much in the Championship this year. So I wish him nothing but the worst, in truth.
Do you think at full time he might have been thinking, "Oh, have I made a mistake?" I mean, my guess is from a balance point of view, no. But I do wonder in the footballing sense if he may have done, because it's not really a team I think that's going to get the best out of him. And generally, I think players go to Stoke and nobody really goes there and enhances their reputation. It feels like the next move afterwards is a downward one. So yeah, what do you think?
Absolutely. From a footballing perspective, I think it is a step backwards. I would have said that whether we'd won or lost on Saturday. It's not going to make his career go into a Stoke side that's going to languish in mid-table and probably towards the bottom end of mid-table. It's a side that's lacking in a philosophy, and I just cannot see where their direction of travel is at the moment. I just can see them languishing towards the bottom end of the Championship. Whereas at the Swans, he was in a project, wasn't he? And whether you're on the bus or not on the bus with Matt Doss, I think you can see what he's trying to do, and it was a project with a club that's got a clear identity and a way of playing. And I genuinely think he would have been better served with staying with us. With that being said, if is he regretting it? Who knows? If he is, then I'm sure he'll dry his tears with £50 notes, because that's the reason why he moved.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you really, but it would be interesting to know how he really feels. I mean, he might tell us one day, you never know. But yeah, it's not a move that's gone great for him on the opening day at least. But I mean, you'd like to think that things will only get better. But if I'm honest with you, I hope that Stoke get relegated, because I'm just sick to death of playing them, and it would just be nice to have a break, wouldn't it? Because yeah, we've been playing them every single season, haven't we, for however long it is. But yeah, either way, we can enjoy that one. I think as a fan base, we've earned it. I mean, we took great numbers up there. The atmosphere was really good. And yeah, it would be nice to think that we don't have to go there next year. But time will tell, really. But I think there wouldn't have been many people in that crowd that have seen us win at Stoke before. Obviously, we did win there during COVID, but that was obviously behind closed doors. And then what happened then? Yeah, 2001 was the last time that we won there under John Hollins when we got relegated. And it was actually a very good win, probably our best win of the season, because they finished in the playoffs. So how we went there and won, I will never know, but we did. And for however many were there on that cold Tuesday night, I'm sure it was great. But yeah, there wouldn't have been many of them there that were there on Saturday. But yeah, we'll move on now to look at our first home game of the season, first home game in the league anyway. And just like last year, it's Sheffield United that are our first home game. A club in a bit of disarray off the pitch, aren't they? Because they've been threatened with a potential points deduction. So good time to play them or bad? I mean, I think you never really know in this case, do you? I mean, last year, I think we definitely caught them at a good time. But I mean, I'm looking at it now. I mean, Gustavo Hamer has left. He was one of their standout players over the last couple of years. And I don't think they've been able to replace him yet. So that would be a positive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think any kind of off the field uncertainty is is a good thing from a Swans perspective. You know, you want to be playing sides that are unsettled if you can, and so I think the points deduction can never be a good thing from a Sheffield United perspective. You know, it's not going to be a spur of, you know, for a performance on Saturday. It's difficult to know what to make of them, really. I think, you know, they're a big club with some big names there on sizable wages, but they've been the kind of proverbial underperformers really now for 12 months. And so it's hard to know exactly where they are. As you say, they've lost Hamer, who was instrumental for them. I'm confident if we replicate anywhere near the type of performance that we did on Saturday up in Stoke, I think we'll give them a really good game, and I back us. You know, there's going to be a big bumper crowd down there on Saturday, but the looks of it looks like there's about 1,000, maybe 2,000 tickets left. So it's going to be first home game of the season under the summer sunshine, under a really good crowd with a big crowd behind them. I'm hoping that it's going to be a positive one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And just to echo that, really, I mean, if you're not going on Saturday at this stage, then I would suggest after last Saturday, have a think if you're available and get yourself down there, because it was a good start to the season. After the first time we've won on the opening day for 6 years, and there was enough to be positive about. And just see if you can get yourself down there, because fingers crossed we can get another positive result, really. But I think with Sheffield United, it's a bit of a strange one. I mean, I look back at the playoff final from the year before last. They were winning 1-0. They were the better team by a country mile. I think they had a second goal disallowed on a VAR. And I remember thinking at the time, that's a bit dodgy. And if that had stood, they would have gone up. Sunderland would not have gone up, who stole the game in all reality. And then, Sheffield United, basically, as a result of not going up, then made the managerial change, lost their first few games, then reappointed Chris Wilder. But because they didn't go up last year, have now run out of parachute money. So it's been very damaging for them, really, isn't it? They're now in a similar boat to most of the other clubs in the division. So I feel like they've probably missed a good chance. I mean, I'm not saying they can't, resurrect it or maybe push this season, but it is now a different club. It's a bit like when Russell Martin took our job. The parachute payments ran out after that playoff final, lost to Brentford, and you're just in a different stratosphere then in terms of what you can do, really. But I mean, from a Swans point of view, Rhys, I mean, would you stick with the same team? I mean, obviously we haven't made any signings this week, which, I mean, I think we were probably hoping maybe we could have strengthened, but it's Wednesday afternoon now. It's been very, very quiet in terms of transfers, so it feels unlikely that somebody's going to come in before the weekend. But I mean, the no-brainer really feels like to stick with the team that did well for us on the weekend, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't see any changes. The question mark would be whether maybe Ida as the starter ahead of Vopotnik. I think you've got to stick with Vopotnik for however long he's in a, we can put him in a Swansea shirt. But Ida came on and did well on Saturday, so he's probably the only question mark. But yeah, I think the other 10 pick themselves. It sends the wrong message, really, if when they perform like that. And you make changes. So I think the other 10 are probably cast iron guaranteed.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? And I mean, we're not at the stage yet, but there's only 3 game weeks, and that's when you might think to, make a couple of changes and stuff like that just to keep things fresh. But we're still so early in the season that, I think we're unlikely to see that, aren't we? I mean, one thing I am hoping for is that maybe we'll get Ross Stewart onto the bench, because obviously that hasn't happened yet. I mean, obviously, whether he'd come on or not, I don't know, because, as you say, we've got Vopotnik and then we've got Ida. I mean, unless you're going to go to 2 up front, you're not really going to bring 2 strikers off the bench, you wouldn't have thought, would you? But hopefully we can get him close to fitness, isn't it? Because we still don't know if Vopotnik may go. And then if he does, obviously, then we really will need him, won't we?
Yeah, he's going to be instrumental if Vopotnik goes. It's going to be interesting now over the next kind of 10 days, however long we've got now of the window, to see whether there are any moves for Vopotnik. Because if there isn't, we've got 3 very good strikers on that bench, and how are you going to keep all of those happy? It's going to be a real headache for Matos in a good way. It's a nice problem to have, but it'll be a real headache if we aren't able to get rid of Vopotnik for reasonable money. But yeah, you look at that side now, and you You think it's a side with balance, with quality, and it can only really get better. Honestly, Steve, I think we're winning the league.
Someone's definitely got carried away, haven't they, at Stoke the other day? I mean, God, what's going on here? I mean, I'd still take a playoff place if you offered it to me right now, and I still think we're slightly short. But look, there's nothing wrong with feeling encouraged and happy, because let's be honest about it. The amount of times we've come on here, particularly at the start of the season, and gone, here we go again. We're short of players. The manager isn't great, and yeah. Whereas for once, we're talking a bit more positively, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm being facetious. I still think that I mentioned last week, and I'll say it again this week. I still think that we're in the running for a playoff place. Saturday did give me real cause for optimism that we are going to take a step in the right direction this year. But it's a long season, the Championship, isn't it? You mentioned 3 game weeks. There's loads of them. You're relying quite heavily on your squad, and often a bit of luck, to avoid injuries and whatnot. So there's an awful lot to feel positive about at the moment. Everyone seems to be pushing pulling them in the right direction off the field and on it. And so, yeah, while there's some positivity around the club, I think we've got to take the time to enjoy it, because it's been long overdue in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. And as you say, I mean, it is a long season, and the fact is we're still a little bit short, aren't we, in a couple of positions, really. So, if we can address that, and to be fair, I do think we will, whether it'll be with players that are of the level that we need. I mean, there's never a guarantee on that, in the same way there isn't with the players we've already brought in. But, but if they do bring a couple of reinforcements in the centre of midfield, and then at centre back or at right back, depending on what they're going to do with Lissa if needs be, then look, again, that could make the difference for us. And I think that probably is going to be what will define whether we can get in the playoffs or not. I think without that, we do very well. But, as I say, I do think things are happening behind the scenes. I think we're just at this stage where, it's just been very quiet. But look, sometimes some signings can happen out of the blue, and when you're not expecting it. So let's hope for the Swans springing a little bit of a surprise on us, really. But I think that's it for this week. Short and sweet, with only a couple of games. Well, 1 game to review and 1 game to preview. Let's hope for some more positive news off the pitch as well next week, so then we can we have more things to talk about. But a big thanks to Rhys for joining me, and I hope you've enjoyed. It's certainly makes a change from the more negative starts to the season that we've had in recent years. So long may it continue, and hopefully we can. There'll be more positives to discuss next week as we review the Sheffield United game and preview the trip to Derby. So a big thanks as ever for joining us, and bye for now.